what you're looking at is the first crescent built anywhere in England. That's its architectural significance. When it was finished, 1774, it was just called the Crescent because there weren't any other ones. It became known as the Royal Crescent about 20 years later when royalty visited. If you want to be pedantic, it's not actually a crescent, it's half an oval shape. It's a semi-ellipse, if you look at its shape. I want you to think back, please, to when we were standing at the traffic lights, Queen Square, and I was saying, I had said earlier, take in that building, looks like a palace but divided up into townhouses. Same concept here, but obviously on a much bigger, grander scale. So what you're looking at is 30 townhouses, but it was designed to look palatial. So the idea was that you could stand where we are and go, I live there, implying you live in the whole lot of it, when in fact you just lived in kind of one little segment of it. Where we are standing is the edge of Royal Victoria Park, our Bath's main park. So it stretches for about a quarter of a mile down in that direction, well beyond the terrace there. The park opened in 1830. So it wasn't here when the Royal Crescent was finished in 1774. 1774, this was right on the edge of the city. So the Royal Crescent was looking over open countryside. So it's sort of reinforcing its palatial look and feel. The idea was that it was sort of like a country house or a stately home overlooking its own grounds. Back in the late 1700s, soon after the Crescent was finished, most people would have been renting the houses here and renting them particularly for the winter time. So Bath had a winter season. That's when it was at its kind of buzziest, if you like. London had a summer season, Bath had a winter season. So it would sort of be like having a long-term Airbnb let here, if you like, say from October, November through to March. Pretty much the whole of Georgian Bath was built for the express purpose of providing lodging accommodation for people when it was a fashionable resort. So if you had lots of money, you could rent one of the big houses up here. If you didn't, you might just rent rooms, lodging rooms, down on a terrace down in the centre of town. It was much more desirable to be up here, not just in the Royal Crescent, but on a terrace up here, because you were outside the centre and the air would have been cleaner. Do you remember I was saying at the beginning, Bath in a bowl? So think of all the chimneys, look at all those chimneys, think of all the chimneys you see when you wander around Georgian Bath, belching out smoke. So there was a pall of smoke often hanging over the centre of the city. Up here in the upper town, the air would have been cleaner. So, renting for a resort, what I'm describing is 1700s, late 1700s. If you move into the 1800s, to Regency times in the 1810s, then the Victorian times after that, Bath's reputation had started to change. Wasn't quite so fashionable, more somewhere where people would come and retire to. And some people say nothing's changed in that respect 200 years later. So people would have been living in these houses year round more. Other towns and cities had started to eclipse Bath in terms of fashionability. Places like Cheltenham, your classic Regency spa town, Brighton as well. Prince Regent built that kind of enormous pavilion, if you've ever been there. Sea bathing had become a big thing. So, what are we looking at? Palladian style, everything very uniform, harmonious and symmetrical. If we were looking at the back, higgledy-piggledy, just like I was explaining coming up Gravel Walk. 30 townhouses. Now, almost everything is still residential. Most of the houses have been divided up into apartments, but we've still got 8 complete private houses. They're really big. So if you look at the end here, you can see double width effectively. So most Georgian houses are tall and thin. 5 stories, so we can only see the 4 upper stories here. There's also a basement. So you're talking 8, 9, 10 bedrooms. The ones in the middle have got nice big gardens as well, and some of them have got extra bedrooms, even more in the converted coach house out the back. I suspect some of you are thinking, how much? So one of the houses was sold a couple of months ago, so we have a kind of useful handle, kind of up-to-date handle if you like. Anybody want to have a guess?
5 million.
Pretty good, yeah. 5 points.
Because I bought it.
5.75. So yeah. So we've got an auction going on. So if you just want an apartment, there's one for sale at the moment, sir. I'm sounding like an auctioneer here. There's one for sale at the moment for 975,000. 2-bedroom apartment, basement apartment. So whether you think all those prices sound very high or not, I think is dependent on kind of, it's all relative. For London prices, it doesn't seem so much. So in the middle, we've got a hotel where the blue van is. Behind the blue van, you can see those double pillars and the big window, magnolia tree to the right. That's the Royal Crescent Hotel. 5-star hotel, takes up 2 houses to the front, but it's bigger than that implies. So there's an acre of garden, and most of the 40 bedrooms are in the coach houses, the old coach houses out the back. We also have a museum, as I was explaining to these ladies, right on the end here, number 1 Royal Crescent. So where they've recreated what it would have been like in peak Georgian times, with the grand rooms upstairs, servants' quarters down below. They do a fantastic job there. It's all part of the Bath Preservation Trust, so highly recommend that you do that. Have we got anybody who's seen Bridgerton?
Of course.
Yeah, okay. So, lots of filming in Bath. Bridgerton was really big filming for Bath. So we do dedicated Bridgerton tours, as well as our kind of regular tours. Bath representing London. So 14 locations across the city. Lots of filming up here at the Royal Crescent. Royal Crescent representing Grosvenor Square. Don't panic if you haven't seen Bridgerton, everybody. This is just going to be 30 seconds on Bridgerton. But if you're looking at number 1 Royal Crescent, that's what it looked like in Bridgerton, and it was the home of the Featherington family. So if you look carefully at this, whether you've seen Bridgerton or not, it's quite interesting because you can see it's a bit different in the picture. They use CGI, computer-generated imagery, to kind of make it a bit snazzier. If you watch the first 5 minutes of episode 1 in Bridgerton, you'll see loads of Bath. You don't need to sit through 8 hours again. Top Gear was being filmed here just a week ago on the lawn here in front. It's going to be part of the Christmas special. So they had rubber tracks on the grass here, and they had Christmas trees strapped to the roofs of 3 cars. So lots and lots of filming takes place. Just a couple of last things about the Royal Crescent. Notice that there are 2 lawns. So we're on the public lawn here, part of the park. The upper lawn is private. You can only access it if you live in the Royal Crescent. You're a member of the Royal Crescent Residents Association. You get a key to the gate at the top. You might think that wall and the ditch between the 2 lawns is to keep us out, to kind of keep the plebs out from going on the private lawn. It was in fact designed to keep the animals out. So remember when this was open countryside, to stop cows and sheep going right the way up to your front door. It's called a ha-ha, H-A-H-A. It's a feature you get in the grounds of lots of country houses. One last thing, one of the uniform elements of the Royal Crescent is the fact that all the paintwork is white. So the architect stipulated that when he finished his work in 1774. There is one exception now, and that is a yellow door. So if you look 2/3 of the way around to the left, back in 1972, a Miss Wellesley Colley, the owner of the house, decided to paint her front door yellow because she said she was a descendant of the Duke of Wellington, Battle of Waterloo and all that, and his favourite colour was yellow, and she wanted to acknowledge that. So she went ahead, painted her door yellow. There was an enormous fuss, so the Residents Association tried to force her to paint it white again. The council, the same. It went to a tribunal, and she won. So ever since, the door has remained yellow. The family no longer live there.
In the earlier times, I think the top, they were for the staff.
They were, yeah, thank you. So did everybody hear that? So yeah, the top floor, the attic floor, would have been the bedrooms for the servants. So kitchens and so forth down in the basement.
Back in the day,
yes.
Who owned these apartments? I know
He and me.
Back in the day.
Yeah. So I am going to answer the question. So the way that Bath was built Georgian Bath was built was a process of speculative development. So the main developer, which in fact sometimes doubled up as the architect, so I forgot to say the architect here, John Wood the Younger, would purchase the site from the landowner and then speculate on individual developers, kind of one further down the rung, if you like, the ladder, from purchasing the 30 plots here. So then individual developers would build their house and then they would rent that out. Does that make sense? Yes. Thank you.
Sorry, was that some of the windows are sash and some
Yes,
are squared?
that's another good question. Question about the windows and the variety of the windows that we're looking at. So they are all sash windows, the original Georgian windows, but as the lady points out, some of them have their original crossbars. You can see that the smaller panes of glass, and some of them have got the whole panes of glass. Whole panes of glass would have been put in Victorian times when you could blow a bigger pane of glass. So I often get asked, well, how does that work in kind of being a kind of listed building? All this is grade 1 listed. Don't you have to kind of retrospectively take it back to how it was in Georgian times? That's not how listings work. It just means that you can't make any alterations without kind of jumping through lots of hoops and getting permission to how it is now. Okay. I think we should crack on if we may. We're going to head up to the circus, which
I'm so in love with you.